Planning to eat and drink yourself into a slumber this Christmas? Well, I've got a few things to add to that list. As a business accountant, my team and I spend all day long helping business owners on their journey. Now, as you can see from my festive attire, we're just about to close down for a couple of weeks for Christmas for the majority of businesses. I say we, not us personally. We might have a few days off, but as a business support service with payroll, bookkeeping, all these things going on, we won't be closed for very long, but we are going to have a nice few days with our family, as I'm sure you will. Now, as a result, this time of year is really interesting for me because I love it, absolutely love it. Christmas Eve, you'll find me sitting on my sofa, trying not to do a lot, looking at TV and all the other things that are going on and doing something that I wouldn't normally do, and that's sitting around not doing a lot. And for a lot of people, they're going to be doing the same. I also think it's an amazing opportunity to look at a few things inside of your business and also from a tax and finance point of view. So bear with me because I just want to talk about a couple of those things in one go. But before we get into that, I really wanted to take this opportunity just to say thank you to everybody that's had a look at the channel this year. It's been an amazing sort of transition and growth, really. Where we started doing these a while back, I remember my kids taking the mick out of me for 23 views or whatever they would get on the video, and then we started taking it a little bit more seriously in terms of the quantity that we were putting out and everything else, and it's been amazing to see the interest in it. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for that. I'm still trying to prove to my kids that this is worth doing, so if you know anybody that would benefit from the videos we put out, please do share them. But I'm great to see that the reception they've had. One of the things I think when we were looking to put videos out on YouTube is, as somebody that consumes a relative amount of YouTube in the small spare time that I've got, is you look at the comments and everything else that goes on in there and you think, oh, do you want to subject yourself to that? And there is that element to it. But all I can say is it's been phenomenal to see the sort of brilliant community of people that have commented on the videos and asked questions, and plenty of you have been in contact with us outside of YouTube, which has been amazing, to talk about your businesses and what you're doing. And as a result, it's just been nothing but pleasant, which is great. I kind of, I don't know, pictured this as a thing where we'd be fighting comments all the time and I don't know, comments about anything not related to what we were talking about, so it's been amazing. So thank you very much. I also wanted to take the opportunity to say thanks to our accountant apprentice, Sam, who undoubtedly is editing this right now as he's doing it, and then you're seeing it in the finished version. I am not a natural person on camera, so as a result, quite often I do this, I record them early in the morning. So right now, as I'm recording this, there's birds chirping in the background. I've only just sort of woke up in the last hour or so, and we do a lot of these early mornings, so they do require quite a bit of editing, and Sam diligently does all of that whilst trying to actually learn how to be an accountant and do a fantastic job with that as well. So thanks to him for doing that. I think it's an interesting skill to be able to learn, and these days in the type of business world we operate in, quite an important skill as well. So thanks for him for all his work as well. So that's brilliant. So I think that's most of the thank yous I wanted to get through. So as I say, 2021 is going to be great for this. We've got a load more content planned. We've been trying to keep a note. I know the team have been in and keeping a note of all the things that people have been mentioning in the comments they'd like to see videos on. So if you do think, actually, yeah, there's this real burning issue I'd love to see a video on, and I think other people would want to benefit from this as well, stick it in the comments below and we shall add it to the list and see what we can do. We try and avoid certain things because they can be a bit of a rabbit hole, or as accountants, we have to be a little bit careful giving advice online. So as you can imagine, we can give generic, and you've seen me do it plenty of videos, I've given you generic ideas of what you can do and what you can here and what you can do there. Giving one-to-one advice is a bit more different, and we have to engage as an accountant to talk about those things. So sometimes we have to skirt around certain subjects depending on what they are, but do drop them in the comments, and we'll try and do as many things as we can with the videos. It's been a great driver of content for us on this, is really been able to see, okay, what do people want, because you're mentioning it in the comments and then make a video for that. It's been great. So thanks for everybody that's contributed to that as well. Okay, so let's get on to talk about then what we're going to do with our Christmas period, and there's a few things tax-wise I just want to briefly talk on. The first one is tax returns. Everybody groans, but if you're in business, you've probably got a tax return to do. If this is an early year for you and you've only started recently, you might not have a personal tax return to do, but definitely check it out. If you've got an accountant, check in with them to make sure. If you've had any communication from the revenue, then that should be some indication. But if you have got an online personal or business tax account, just log in there and check they haven't issued you a tax return, because they can do odd things, and it does surprise people every year to find out they suddenly get a fine after January for £100 instantly for not doing that tax return. So check in, make sure you haven't got one to do, and if you have got one, do it. interesting stats every year, I'm sure we'll be sharing it, is there is a lot of people that do it on Christmas Day. It's like a standing joke for some people. I think I've had a couple of clients over the year who'd love to email me on Christmas Day and tell me they've done it, and I think it's a great way of doing it if you've got nothing else on, especially if you're locked down now, as we are here in Tier 4. You're going to end up in a place where maybe you haven't got as much to do. Then if you want to do it on Christmas Day, I won't be doing any tax returns on Christmas Day, but if you want to, crack on. But there is a nice period afterwards. If you do use an accountant, I think it's a fantastic time right now to make sure you've got all your paperwork in, because like all businesses, they've got their own COVID struggles of making sure everything's done. If they're old school and you have to physically hand it into them, obviously you've got to make sure you can get there and that the office is open, all these kind of things. So do get in touch with them if you haven't already. Sure, for most modern accounting practices with technology, it won't be a problem, but it's worth making sure that you've got everything you need, especially because in previous years, if you're missing something, quite often you can request things from the revenue. They've got internal problems. They're a nightmare at the minute in terms of the length of time it takes to get a reply for anything. So if you're missing bits of paperwork, you don't want to leave it too late. So that's the first one. Check out and make sure you've not got a tax return. If you're VAT registered, it's always the time of year to make sure that you get that VAT return in and make sure that it's all done ready in time, because this Christmas period is an odd one. You know, you've got various banking days that can delay days where you'd pay it, but ultimately most of the time you're going to end up paying it by the 7th of January. So you've got plenty of time, but it's whether you've got the time to actually prepare your own VAT, or again, if you're in with an accountant, have you given them all the paperwork they need to prepare it over this period? So definitely have a look at those. And the biggest thing is making sure, I think, to spend 5 minutes just planning the early cash flow for 2021. It always says, we say to someone, cash flow forecast, cash flow plan, and it sounds like something really complex, but I'm talking you could do it on a bit of a fag packet, you know, like, yeah, this is coming in and this is going out over the next couple of months. You know, if your business is on the small end, you could definitely do that style. And I think the important thing with that is to understand what's coming out if you've got any large chunks soon. So there's a few things that happened, and we did another video on this, so I'm not going to go too far into it, but check out one we did on avoiding the winter cash flow crunch. That's the video you're looking for. But we're talking about things like if you've delayed personal tax payments or VAT, or you've got your bounce back loan you've taken, all those things could start to come out in early 2021, or you need to do something about them. So that, just as a reminder, if you've missed it, you can now delay your personal tax payments, spread those over another 12 months. There will be a time to pay service coming in January, and we'll definitely do a video when that releases. It's not out yet. That'll tell you automatically how you can go and spread those things. So that's really good. You'll also, if you've delayed VAT and you still haven't got the money to pay it, you'll also be able to spread that over 11 months. Again, details are coming on when and how that is done, but that will happen. And then of course, bounce back loans, if you do start to have to repay them soon, early in 2021, there's a few options for interest-free and payment breaks and things that you can do. Again, lots of videos on the channel for those, but just be aware that it's worth sitting down and just planning it. And for a lot of businesses, sometimes this is an amazing cash flow point where loads of money comes in. But I'd say for the vast majority of them, a lot of the time, especially with the COVID lockdown, you might just not have any funds coming in. And it's worth looking early doors at, are you going to have a problem? Do you need more funding? Is there anything else you've got to cut and look at early 2021? So it might not be the most amazing Christmas cheer thing to do, or it could be, just depends on how your cash is rolling, but definitely spend 5 to do that. So they're kind of the main financial things to look at. And as a business owner, I think it's worth touching on some of the wider business things that like I might be doing myself, and I certainly will be doing myself over this period. And that's having a look at things that are business planning wise. So now, first disclaimer, I'm not a business coach, don't pretend to be, but I'm just going to tell you from my own experience the kind of things that I like to get up and enjoy at this time of year. And the first one is to try and write some goals for 2021. I know a lot of people do New Year's resolutions and stuff like that. Never been a fan of New Year's resolutions, but I happen to have a birthday in December, so quite often I write my goals around December, ready for the next year, that they take me through to my next birthday. So that works out quite well. Now, as a result, I think writing down some goals, and if you don't do this, I can't tell you the magic of this. I'm not necessarily saying that it's one of those things that you write them down and they're all going to come true, but it does have some weird magic power to it, I think, if you concentrate into it. So what I tend to do is have a look, and the examples I can give you over the years in our own business have been amazing. You know, I remember writing down 10 years ago what I think it would look like in 5 years, what I'd like it to look like, you know, and then I worked backwards and thought, okay, well, what turnover levels do we need to be at in terms of money coming in, how many staff do we need, and all these kind of things, and wrote this 5-year thing. Actually made a chart for how the organisation would look in 5 years' time, and we actually achieved it in 3, and then you had to write a new one. And every time I've done this, it's worked really, really well. So if you're just starting out that journey, or if you're just in a period where you think, do you know what, I'd like to grow, or you know, make this a little bit bigger, I'd definitely do that. I know this year for me has been interesting, and we'll be looking to reset. We're just recruiting our 21st person internally. So for some people that's a relatively small business. For some people that's a large business. It just depends on where you are on your journey, I suppose. But for us, we'll be looking at what does the next few years look like on that, and where do we need people, and what do we want to do. So those kind of things. But I like Christmas for that, because most of the time a lot of your customers and clients won't expect you to be working, because they'll be enjoying themselves and their families, and it's just a nice time to step away from the day-to-day of the business and have a look at those things. So writing those goals down, and there's lots of different things you can do on goal setting, but I think if you go in and have a look at some of them, they'll tell you, write them as if you'd achieved them. So you put I don't know, let's say it's lose weight, I am X weight by whatever the date's going to be, put a date on them, so you've got some sort of deadline. And if you don't achieve them, you don't achieve them, but you can then move that goal or adjust them. So goal setting, I think, is a good one, and then try to break that backwards, so you almost kind of know on a daily basis what you do. I think that's the most amazing thing. The power of consistency for me has been the biggest thing I can say from my own business journey, is just seeing how just doing the same little things every day that contribute to those bigger goals can really make that impact further down the line. And of course, the other thing you can do is you can do things like this. You can figure out what you're going to do in your social media plan and have a look at your social media. I'm sure marketeers would love you for this if you can come back with a bit of content and things you want to talk about into the new year. I think a lot of people do take the time to go and do that. And I also think it's a good time to write any new systems. If you've got one of those things that's really bugging you in the business, it's a good time to look at it and just think, do you know what I could do with writing that down and getting someone else to do it? Then now's a nice time again, just while you're outside operationally of the business and you've got a bit of downtime, presuming you're not in a Christmas business that's actually really, really busy over these couple of weeks, then it's a good thing to do, I think, and just have a look. Because the biggest thing I found over the years being in business is that I just wish I'd written everything down earlier in terms of systemizing it, because as you grow, and if you grow fast, you need to bring people in, you've got to write it at the time you're bringing them in and tweak it, and it gets quite messy. So definitely have a look at those things. So there's a couple of ideas of stuff you could do in the wider business as you go. And of course, one thing you don't want to forget to do, and that's have some downtime. I am the biggest hypocrite telling you this, because I do like to work and I do like to be in and involved in the business, but even I'll find, mainly Christmas Eve, that's always the day that I do it, find time to do absolutely nothing. So hope you have a great one, and let's make 2021 a really good year. If you've got any videos you'd love to see, bung them in the comments. And that just leaves me to say Merry Christmas. See you in the new year.